The sky over Ahmedabad on June 12, 2025, was clear, holding the promise of a routine afternoon. It was a day like any other, filled with the simple, ordinary activities of life. Students at the BJ Medical College were gathered in their dining hall, sharing lunch and conversation. Nearby, at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport, passengers were boarding Air India flight AI-171, their minds already on their destination in London. They were mothers, fathers, children, and business travelers, each with a story and a future they looked forward to. But in a few terrifying moments, this ordinary day would be shattered, leaving behind a scar on the heart of the city and the nation. The simple act of a plane taking off would turn into a tragedy of immense proportions. The aircraft, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, began its journey at 1:38 p.m. It was carrying 230 passengers and 12 crew members, a total of 242 souls. The takeoff seemed normal at first as the large plane lifted into the air. However, seconds later, something went terribly wrong. The aircraft reached an altitude of only 625 feet before it began a frightening and rapid descent. A mayday call, a desperate plea for help, was sent from the cockpit. For those on the ground who happened to look up, the sight was one of sheer disbelief and horror. The plane, which should have been climbing steadily towards the clouds, was instead falling back to the earth, its nose pointed unnaturally upwards. The final moments of Flight AI-171 ended in devastation. The plane crashed into the Maganinagar area, about 5 kilometers from the airport, its journey lasting only a few minutes. It tragically struck the dining hall of the BJ Medical College hostel, a place that should have been a sanctuary for students. The impact was catastrophic, followed by a massive fire that engulfed the wreckage and surrounding area. The lives of 241 people on the plane were extinguished in an instant. On the ground, the tragedy compounded, as at least 5 students lost their lives, and dozens more were injured. In a single horrific event, hundreds of families from India, the United Kingdom, and beyond were plunged into darkness. The scale of the loss was staggering. Among the passengers were people from all walks of life, including the former Chief Minister of Gujarat, Vijay Rupani, and a British family known for their charitable work. Of the 242 people on board, there was only one survivor, a man named Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, who was miraculously pulled from the wreckage. He had been traveling with his brother, who did not survive. His survival is a small glimmer of hope in a vast sea of sorrow, but it also serves as a poignant reminder of all who were lost. The crash left a void not just in the families of the victims, but also in the communities they belonged to, from Ahmedabad to London. In the immediate aftermath of the crash, the local community responded with incredible bravery and compassion. Residents of Maganinagar were the first to witness the horror, and many rushed towards the scene, hoping to help in any way they could. They were met with a terrifying sight of fire and destruction, but they did not turn away. Emergency services arrived quickly, facing the daunting task of battling the intense blaze while trying to search for survivors. The fire was so fierce that it hampered rescue efforts, creating a scene of chaos and desperation. The air was thick with smoke and sorrow, yet people worked tirelessly, their actions a testament to the strength of the human spirit in the face of tragedy. The official response was swift and comprehensive. The Indian Army deployed 130 personnel to assist, and 6 teams from the National Disaster Response Force were brought in to manage the complex and dangerous rescue and recovery operation. The airport was temporarily closed as a security measure and out of respect for the victims. High-level government officials, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel, travelled to Ahmedabad to visit the crash site. Their presence was a symbol of national mourning, showing that the entire country stood with the people of Ahmedabad in their time of profound pain and loss. It was a moment where all differences were set aside, united by a shared sense of grief. As news of the crash spread, a wave of shock and sadness washed over India and the world. In Goa, the government declared a day of state mourning to honor the victims. In Ahmedabad, Hindu temples held special prayers, offering solace to a grieving community. The tragedy touched lives far beyond India's borders, particularly in the United Kingdom, as 53 of the passengers were British citizens. The Indian diaspora community in the UK was left reeling as families tried to comprehend the sudden and violent loss of their loved ones. The story of Flight AI-171 was not just a national tragedy, it was a global one, connecting people across continents through shared sorrow. Air India, owned by the Tata Group, immediately set up an emergency hotline to provide information and support to affected families. A special assistance team was sent to Ahmedabad to help coordinate efforts on the ground. The airline and its parent company also announced financial compensation for the victims' families. A necessary step, but one that could never measure the true cost of their loss. These actions, while important, were just the beginning of a long and difficult journey for the families. The immediate response from the community, government, and the airline highlighted a collective desire to provide comfort and support, a crucial first step in the process of healing from such a deep wound. As the rescue and recovery efforts continued, another critical task began: the investigation into why the crash happened. The search for answers is not about placing blame, it is about understanding the chain of events so that such a tragedy can be prevented in the future. India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau took the lead in this solemn duty. Given the international nature of the flight and the aircraft, they were joined by experts from around the world. Investigators from the United States National Transportation Safety Board, the United Kingdom's Air Accidents Investigation Branch, and representatives from Boeing and GE Aerospace arrived to offer their assistance, bringing their collective knowledge to the difficult task ahead. The investigation is a meticulous process, like piecing together a complex puzzle from thousands of fragments. Early reports focused on several potential areas. One of the aircraft's black boxes, which record flight data and cockpit conversations, was recovered from the wreckage. This is a crucial piece of evidence that can provide a second-by-second account of the flight's final moments. Initial theories based on flight data and eyewitness accounts pointed towards a possible critical technical failure. This could include a sudden engine failure or a problem with the aircraft's control systems, which would explain the plane's inability to climb after takeoff. The investigation will carefully examine every possibility. The focus on the aircraft itself, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, has brought renewed scrutiny to the manufacturer. This particular aircraft had been in service since 2013, but the crash occurred against a backdrop of wider concerns about Boeing's safety and manufacturing standards. While it is far too early to draw any conclusions, the incident has reminded the public of past issues and allegations. Investigators will look closely at the aircraft's maintenance records, its design, and any potential systemic issues. The financial markets reacted to this uncertainty, with Boeing's shares falling in the immediate aftermath, a reflection of the serious questions being asked about the safety of one of the world's most popular aircraft. It is important to remember that these are just preliminary lines of inquiry. The final report from the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau will take many months, or even years, to complete. Investigators must consider every factor, from the technical condition of the plane to the actions of the flight crew, weather conditions, and air traffic control communications. Speculation at this early stage is unhelpful and can cause more pain for the families who are desperately waiting for clear, factual answers. The commitment of the investigators is to uncover the truth, no matter how difficult it may be, to honor the memory of the 242 people who lost their lives, and to make air travel safer for everyone. A tragedy of this magnitude forces us to confront difficult questions and learn important lessons. The first and most critical lesson is always about safety. The Ahmedabad crash is a stark and painful reminder that despite modern technology, the work of ensuring aviation safety is never finished. It demands constant vigilance from airlines, manufacturers, and regulators. Every flight is a promise of safety made to passengers, and this event will undoubtedly lead to a thorough review of procedures, from aircraft maintenance and inspection protocols to pilot training and emergency response. The findings of the investigation must be used to implement meaningful changes that strengthen the entire system, ensuring that such a failure does not happen again. Another profound lesson lies in how we care for those affected by such disasters. The immediate response from the community and the government was commendable, but the support for victims' families must be a long-term commitment. Grief does not follow a timeline. The families of the victims, as well as the sole survivor, will need ongoing emotional, psychological, and financial support for years to come. This tragedy highlights the need for robust and compassionate victim support systems that can be activated immediately and sustained over time. It is our collective responsibility as a society to walk alongside these families on their long journey of healing, offering them our unwavering support and empathy. The crash of Flight AI-171 has also shown us the deep and interconnected nature of our world. The loss was felt not just in one city or one country, but across continents. It brought together communities in India and the United Kingdom in shared grief, reminding us that human connection transcends borders. The stories of the victims, a former political leader, a charitable family, dedicated crew members, and students with bright futures, paint a picture of a vibrant and diverse group of people whose loss is felt by many. This shared sorrow can be a powerful force for unity, encouraging us to look beyond our differences and recognize our common humanity, especially in times of great adversity. In the end, as we remember the 242 lives lost on that tragic day, we must look to the future with a sense of purpose and hope. We honor their memory only by mourning their loss, but by learning from them. We can build a safer world for travelers, a more compassionate society for those who are suffering, and stronger bonds between communities. Tragedy either breaks or makes strong. Let us choose to become stronger, more vigilant, and let the memory of Flight AI-171 be a guiding light that inspires us to cherish life, to care for one another, and to always strive for a better, safer tomorrow.